Hello everyone, this is Faye at CSN Chicago News. Fire officials said 2 adults and 2 children are in critical condition after a car crash in the city's Chicago Lawn neighborhood. All 4 were injured in a single car crash near West 66th Street and South Maplewood Avenue. The victims were taken to Christ Hospital for treatment. There have been reports that the driver of the car suffered a medical episode just before the crash, but those reports have not been confirmed by fire officials or police. Further details about the circumstances of the crash or the victims have not yet been released. The winning tickets for Wednesday's Powerball drawing with an estimated $435.3 million was sold in Indiana. The Hoosier Lottery confirmed Thursday morning. The ticket was sold at a Super Test gas station in Lafayette, located about an hour northwest of Indianapolis. It's the first time that the jackpot topped $400 million in nearly 3 months, and it's the 7th largest jackpot win in Powerball history. The $435.3 million jackpot is paid out over 29 years. The odds of winning the Powerball jackpot are 1 in 292.2 million. Powerball is played in 44 states, plus Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. An Ohio woman charged with stabbing and decapitating her 3-month-old daughter has pleaded guilty to murder and been sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. 22-year-old Decia Watkins pleaded guilty Thursday in Jania Watkins' March 2015 death. She told a Hamilton County judge she loved her daughter. Watkins had been ordered to have psychiatric treatment and been found competent to stand trial. Her attorneys say she was diagnosed with postpartum psychosis, which can be characterized by depression, confusion, and hallucination beginning shortly after childbirth. Police found the decapitated baby on the kitchen counter in the home of an aunt who was caring for her. The baby had been stabbed multiple times. Authorities said Watkins appeared to have serious mental issues when they found her covered in blood in bed at the aunt's home. A Southwest Airlines flight traveling from Denver to Chicago's Midway Airport made an emergency landing in Omaha after an unusual odor was detected in the cabin Thursday. The captain of Flight 4378 landed the plane safely, the airline said. All 140 customers and 5 crew members will continue to Chicago on a different plane and are expected to arrive 2 hours behind schedule. The original aircraft is out of service for maintenance review, Southwest Airlines said in a statement. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
US-born giant panda Bao Bao has landed back in southwest China's Sichuan province. The famous 3.5-year-old panda was flying on her very own panda-themed Boeing 777.
After a 16-hour non-stop flight, Bao Bao arrived at Chengdu Shuangliu International Airport on Wednesday. Upon arrival, the Sichuan Inspection and Quarantine Bureau gave her a quick medical examination, and she was in good condition.
The panda was eating and sleeping during the whole journey. We also had a sanitary checkup in the cabin and found no mildew germs or insects. So everything is fine so far. The panda has to be quarantined for 1 month in the panda space.
To help make her comfortable, FedEx used a specially adapted Boeing 777, easily spotted thanks to its panda-print design. Bao Bao was traveling with a zookeeper and a veterinarian, as well as her favorite trees, including more than 22 kilograms of bamboo, 1 kilogram of apples, 2 bags of leaf-eater biscuits, cooked sweet potatoes, and water. 4 pilots shared the responsibility during the flight, chosen for their previous experience in this niche skill of transporting pandas around the world.
Flown the panda deliveries or receipt of the panda 4 times and started all the way back from the original Beijing to Memphis. Privilege of sharing. Thank you.
Bao Bao, whose name means precious or treasure in Chinese, is the first female giant panda born in the U.S. National Zoo and has won hearts of numerous Americans since her birth 3.5 years ago. After receiving the all clear and her red stamp, Bao Bao now has for her new life, facing taste changes in a new Sichuan dialect.
The body of Abdel Rahman, the Muslim cleric linked to the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, has been returned home to his native Egypt. Rahman, commonly called the Blind Sheikh, died on February the 18th, 2017, of natural causes in the U.S. prison facility.
The body arrived at Cairo International Airport Wednesday and was handed over to his family for burial, state-run Ahram online website reported. The report said special security procedures were put in place to receive the body of the 78-year-old cleric. His family said the funeral will be held at the Sheikh's birthplace in the Nile Delta Governorate of Dakhaleya. Abdel Rahman died on Saturday at a prison in the United States, where he was serving a life sentence over several terrorist charges, including the 1993 bombing of New York's World Trade Center. A symbolic and spiritual leader of jihadists, he was the founder of the extremist Al-Jama al-Islamiyya, or Islamic group. They're suspected to be behind many acts of violence, such as the 1997 massacre that killed 62 in Egypt's Luxor. The news of his burial in Egypt has stirred controversy. While his family and supporters advocate burying Sheikh's body in his hometown to respect his will, a hashtag of Omar Abdel Rahman not to bury in Egypt started trending with 14,000 tweets only 1 hour after its launch on Sunday.
Thursday was the Defenders' Day in Russia, traditionally a day for celebrating those in the armed forces. It is now more widely used for women to celebrate the men in their lives. At a special event in Moscow, young people gathered at the military historic ball to recreate the elegant dances of the past. Let's take a look.
Young cadets and pupils from the boarding school of the Defense Ministry are celebrating the Defenders' Day. Over 250 participants attended the ball. They dive into the atmosphere of the 19th century. Dareya studies in Austria. She came to Russia for a vacation and decided to take part in the militarily historical ball.
In the modern world, everyone goes to discos, but I like attending balls and being invited by gentlemen to dance.
Boys also have their reasons for attending. Arseny dreams to join the Navy in the future, but now he wants to feel the atmosphere of the old times.
I like to attend the ball because modern discos and events don't give a feeling of music in this mood.
The first ball in Russia started in the times of Peter I, but initially guests preferred playing games, chatting, and dancing. Steadily, the music won the hearts of the nobility, and they started to move. Balls were prohibited at the beginning of the 20th century, but were later approved as a form of cultural development. Historical balls have become more than popular since then.
Believe that the ball, which means spending time with a beauty, brings up the best feelings in a human being. These feelings can lead a person when they defend their motherland.
The concept car has long given designers a chance to cut loose and let their imaginations go wild. This week, the 2017 London Classic Car Show brings together some of the most rare examples ever to jump off the drawing board to real life.
The first concept car was born in 1938, and since then, manufacturers have used them to give consumers a glimpse of the possible future. The vast majority are never put into production, making events like this a rare chance for enthusiasts to see what might have been. At this year's event in London's Excel Exhibition Centre, A quartet of 4 little scene concept cars are set to become one of the event's major highlights. The special showcase, spanning cars from 1966 to 2010, is curated by 2 of the UK's leading car magazines.
We have a really interesting bunch. If we start over at the back, we've got a Vauxhall SRV, which is from 1966. It's very, very basic but very beautifully curvy. And then round to the silver one, that's 1970 Vauxhall. Again, a motor show car to show what Vauxhall could do. It's very radical styling for the time, and it shows how all these cars at the time were very wedge-shaped, and they loved all the louvers on the back. They were very powerful. And when you look inside, there's a lot of room in there as well. It's very interesting design. And then into the 1980s, you've got the Peugeot. Very unusual thing for Peugeot to do. It doesn't look like anything they've ever done before. But again, it showed how interested they were in performance, and that their stylists wanted to do more than just standard family cars. And the last one is the Jaguar CX-75. That was closer to production. It was going to be a production car. This is only 4 years ago, and unfortunately it didn't make it into production, but it did appear in a Bond movie, and some of the ideas have been taken and used for later vehicles.
This year's event, running from February the 23rd to the 26th, also incorporates Historic Motorsport International, a special celebration of desire to drive around things as quickly as possible. Engineers, race preparation, motorsport clubs, governing bodies and retailers from the world are all to be in attendance.
An exhibition features British watercolor landscapes opens its doors to the public. Lifestyles takes you there to have a sneak preview.
The exhibition, Places of the Mind, British Watercolor Landscapes 1850 to 1950, brings a fresh new perspective during that period, exploring the most representative British landscape views. Over half of the 125 works on display, including watercolor, ink, painting, and drawing, and have never been published or exhibited before. The exhibition examines the ways artists interpreted landscape on paper during the Victorian and early modern period. As the curator Kim Sloan introduces, Idealists is one of the most representative group of painters who combine social realism and idealism in their depictions of the English countryside. In John William North's work, the old bowling green, the gentle sport of lawn bowls, was used to reinforce the sense of England's idyllic rural past.
So in this work, for example, we have a work of art by an artist who was a member of a group called the Idealists. They were Victorian illustrators in magazines, but they often in the summertime they would travel to look for inspiration in the English countryside for their work. They loved old country houses. They loved the idea of capturing a changing of what they hoped would not be too much change in the landscape with all of sort of Victorian modernity.
The title of this exhibition is Places of the Mind. It is borrowed from Geoffrey Grigson's 1949 collection of essays. Places of the Mind acknowledges how every landscape drawing is a construct of the mind and imagination of its creator. According to Paul Nash, the landscape drawing is an attempt to convey not merely the physical properties of the landscape, but a sense of place and love of the land.
A number of artists during this period from 1850 to 1950 talked about what they felt when they were drawing a landscape. And one of the people that was most interesting in talking about what he felt was Paul Nash, who said there's something about the genius loci, about the sense of place when you're looking at a landscape that you, as an artist, you're attempting to capture. And this is something that isn't just reproducing what you see in front of you, it's also capturing what you feel about that particular place, the sort of emotions that it evokes, and what you want to convey to the people who are looking at your work.
Display works are from the collection of the British Museum's Department of Prints and Drawings. Featured artists include Sir Hubert Vol Harcomer, Paul Nash, Harry Moore, Graham Sutherland, James McNeill Whistler, and John Singer Sargent. The free exhibition runs in London's British Museum till August the 27th.
A senior UN official for Europe has warned the EU it should not expect too much from its deal with Libya to stem the influx of migrants from North Africa.
During an exclusive interview with CNC, Vincent Cochetel, director of the European Bureau for the UN's High Commissioner for Refugees, stressed the EU's migration deal with Libya would be different from its agreement with Turkey.
Turkey is a state with an administration, with laws, Libya is a country that is at war, that is totally divided. The UN recognized government only control a very small percentage of the territory of Libya. Libya has not signed any convention relating to the protection of refugees, so the conditions are totally different.
Since 2015, the EU has struggled to cope with an unprecedented refugee crisis. Thanks to an aid for return deal struck with Turkey in March 2016, the EU stemmed the influx of refugees on the eastern Mediterranean route. However, migratory pressure subsists, particularly from the central Mediterranean route linking Libya to Italy. The EU adopted a plan to help Libya reduce human trafficking on the route at an informal summit in Malta earlier this month. Cochetel said one of the UNHCR's tasks is to help European countries implement solid screening and registration procedures to identify those who can securely claim refugee status. Talking to migrants is a key part of ascertaining their nationality, given that many travel without identity documents. He explained that among the migrants going to Europe, there are people moving purely for economic reasons and refugees fleeing wars.
People arriving from Libya into Italy by boat. There, the majority of the people are economic migrants coming from West Africa. They have not experienced persecution in their country. They're not coming from countries at war. And the solution for those people is return.
Cochetel was also asked about the rise of anti-refugee sentiment across Europe. He responded it was easy to make refugees a scapegoat for the current social problems in Europe. He also criticized US President Trump's efforts to pass a controversial travel ban, saying it sets a very bad precedent. But he also conceded that it is difficult for citizens of the countries targeted by the ban to obtain visas for EU countries.
App-based cab-hailing companies are proving popular all over the world because of its low fares and immediate availability. However, not so much for some of the drivers. In the Indian capital, New Delhi, drivers for Ola and Uber have gone on an indefinite strike. Lifestyles has the details.
Ola and Uber taxi drivers' strike in Indian capital Delhi points towards a larger issue of the need for a regulatory policy framework for these online cab aggregators in India. Over the past couple of years, India's middle class has increasingly become dependent on these online cab aggregators for their day-to-day commute, something that calls into question the efficiency of India's public transport system.
Thousands of Ola and Uber taxi drivers have been on an indefinite hunger strike since February the 10th in New Delhi, protesting against the unfair terms and conditions they believe these companies ask them to work. The strike even took a violent turn, with some angry drivers using force to stop Ola and Uber taxis working the roads. Most of these drivers bought their vehicles on installment and started working for the companies in 2012 to 13. Over the years, the Ola-Uber model has become very popular among consumers due to very low prices. However, some drivers are feeling cheated by the system.
The problem is we were kept in dark by both Ola and Uber companies. When we started working with them, they hadn't bought out their own fleet of cars. When they created a space and name for themselves in the Indian market, then they bought out their own taxi fleet and pushed us to the side. They don't give us much work. Most of the work goes to their own cars. Besides, we are issued penalties repeatedly without any evidence and hearing. Customers also trouble us. Ola and Uber companies have troubled us a lot for having their own way. We have been sitting on the hunger strike since 10th of February.
The striking cab drivers demand a complete overhaul of their terms and conditions of work. These include an increase in fares, accident insurance, and better incentives for work. The drivers claim that when they started, promises were made. But down the years, terms and conditions have steadily gone against their favor. And now the drivers say they're barely able to make ends meet.
Not a single company representative of Ola or Uber have approached us for talks or inquired about our problems so far. We just have talks on phone. They should sit with us, have a meeting, talk to us, listen to our side of the case and understand our difficulties and problems. At least once a week they should have a meeting with our representatives and hear out our issues and demands through them and sort them out.
One of the most affected by the strike has been the Indian middle-class commuters. In Delhi, thousands have come to depend on Ola or Uber for their daily commute to and from work.
We booked the Uber taxi, so the time which it was showing was that it will take just 15 minutes to come. But when we spoke to driver, so driver is saying that it will take at least half an hour. So like the time which they are showing and the time what driver is saying is totally different. So definitely we are forced, we can't do anything but wait.
We just prefer these two taxi services, Ola and Uber. We prefer them because they charge very reasonable rates and are mostly safe and sound. We are having difficulties reaching our destination because of the strike. This strike shouldn't be happening. Passengers are facing a lot of difficulties.
If there is one winner from the action so far, though, it is iconic sight of the humble auto rickshaw. The transportation system in New Delhi is a multi-layered one, with public transport buses, auto rickshaws, and taxis fighting for space on the famously congested roads. The auto rickshaw drivers of New Delhi have felt that Ola Uber were beginning to monopolize the city with their low prices. However, since the strike started, the autos say they have enjoyed brisk business. For them at least, they're hoping the dispute goes on as long as possible.
35 Kenyan students will go to China at the end of February on a scholarship program to prepare them for Kenya's new railway.
Transport and Infrastructure Cabinet Secretary James Macharia said the students will receive undergraduate education at Beijing Jiaotong University, a top university in China for railway studies.
Students will therefore be well equipped with skills that will enable build a stock of human capital for the development of this country. I want to assure you the efforts to training more and more Kenyans will continue since when we commenced the construction of Mombasa to Nairobi SGR project. We realized there was a lack of professional and skilled manpower for the development, operation, and maintenance of the standard gauge railway.
The 35 students are the second batch of Kenyan students to study in China under the China Communications Construction Company Scholarship Program. The scheme aims to train 100 Kenyan students in railway studies. The first batch of 25 students left for China in 2016. Macharia said Kenya, as well as the East African region, lacks sufficient number of railway professionals to develop and maintain railway infrastructure. This scholarship program is part of China's commitment to sponsoring 1,000 Kenya students for undergraduate studies in China in the next 3 years. Chinese ambassador to Kenya, Liu Xianfa, said Kenya and China have been enjoying cordial relations. And the construction of the SGR is an example of the pragmatic relations between the two friendly nations. He noted that Beijing would assist Kenya to improve its human capacity in all fields, and especially in the railway sector.
The U.S. has deported around 4 million Mexicans across the border over the past 10 years. The government of the U.S. President Donald Trump is seeking to build a wall along the 3,200-kilometer border and to deport around 3 million more Mexican migrants. The migration policy has affected hundreds of thousands of families. Many have been forced to travel between the two countries on a daily basis. Lifestyles has the story of a helpless young girl.
Yami Ponce is a 17-year-old U.S. citizen of Mexican origin. For the past 2 years, she has split her time between Tijuana and Mexico, where her mother lives after being deported, and San Diego in the United States, where she attends school.
And many people are affected when one person is deported. So I think they lack empathy to review these cases and see the consequences that they are going to bring to these families.
From Monday to Friday, the young woman has to get up as early as at 4 a.m. to dress herself up and pack her satchel. Meanwhile, her mother Ixchel prepares breakfast and calls a Uber for her. The driver will drive her through the 1 kilometer long El Chaparral Bridge to cross the Mexico-U.S. border with a friend. She keeps checking social media daily for the least crowded border in order to speed her way into San Diego. Once across, Yami takes a bus and then a train to school at 7 a.m. Since her mother was deported from the United States, the life of all the family members has changed. While Yami is living in Mexico with her mother, her sister Angela is living in the United States with her aunt.
I believe what happened has affected my sister and me. The deportation separates mother and us. My sister has no equal access to maternal love.
Yami and Angela were born and lived in Michigan until 2015 with their parents. After that, their mother took them to Mexico City, but they were bullied as they didn't speak Spanish properly. The family then decided to move back to the United States, but the mother was arrested, jailed, and deported to Mexico without any official papers, even with no money and few clothes. 35-year-old mother was about to complete a postgraduate degree, but now runs a small hair and makeup shop in Tijuana.
I know there's nothing I can do at this moment. I have to wait and do something productive. I cannot let myself fall.
The Mexican mother currently spends 3 days a week volunteering in an office to help the deportees, including war veterans who were sent back to the country without documents. Moving to the United States at the age of 12 with her parents and 3 brothers, the mother is struggling to fit in back in Mexico.
The language, the culture, the currency, the food, and the atmosphere. Everything is different and you have to readapt.
Every night, Yami returns to Mexico, crossing the San Isidro port, where her mother waits her on the Mexican side. There's no telling when the family can get united or whether the road between school and home will be blocked at all someday.
专业的团队，丰厚的经验。
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to the Lake Cook Law Group.
投资理财、法律咨询，芝加哥专业律师团队为您的梦想提供最安全的保障。
同心地产，芝加哥最大的华人中介团队，无论是家居或是商业地产，给你带来全方位的最佳服务。
First, let's take a look at the global markets. In Asia, Chinese stocks closed higher on Friday, with the benchmark Shanghai Composite Index up 0.06%. Hong Kong stocks went down 0.62%. The 225-issue Nikkei stock average lost 0.45%. In Japan, Tokyo stocks closed lower on Friday as the yen strength sent exporters lower, while U.S. officials' concerns about the dollar's strength and tax reforms contributed to a dour market mood. The U.S. dollar ended lower against other major currencies on Thursday amid rising concerns over whether Trump administration will fully implement its economic policies. Oil prices rose on Thursday after data showed the rise in U.S. crude stockpiles was smaller than expected. And gold futures on the COMEX division of the New York Mercantile Exchange rose on Thursday after the release of the Federal Loan Market Committee, or FOMC, meeting minutes. Now let's take a look at the U.S. stocks from our correspondent Sun Omeng in New York.
Okay, let's take a look at the stocks market. U.S. stocks wavered on Thursday with the Dow hitting record highs as investors mainly accessed the comments from Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin. Mnuchin said in an interview with CNBC on Thursday that he wants to see very significant tax reform passed before Congress' August recess. We want to get this done by the August recess. We've been working closely with the leadership in the House and the Senate, and we are looking at a combined plan, he said. Meanwhile, Wall Street still accessed the minutes from the Federal Reserve's latest meeting. U.S. Federal Reserve officials expressed their confidence in the economy and the view next interest rate hike will be fairly soon, minutes of the Fed's latest monetary policy meeting showed Wednesday. On the economic front, in the week ending February 18th, the one's figure for seasonally adjusted initial claims was 244,000, an increase of 6,000 from the previous week's revised level, said the U.S. Labor Department Thursday. This is Omong reporting from New York Stock Exchange.
Thank you, Omong, and we'll keep you updated with the daily markets. U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin has promised very significant tax reform before the congressional break in August.
In a television interview, Mnuchin said his priority was boosting growth. The Treasury Secretary believed that tax cuts combined with deregulation would boost economic growth to 3% by the end of 2018. He said his team was still looking at the subject of a border adjustment tax that would put a tariff on imports. President Trump has promised to announce the phenomenal plan to reform the U.S. tax system by early March. Mnuchin said they were committed to passing tax reform, which would be very significant. It's going to be focused on middle-income tax cuts, simplification, and making business taxes competitive with the rest of the world. Investors broadly welcome promised tax reform, believing that the new policies could help boost corporate profits.
Germany's budget surplus hit a record high last year, boosted by a higher tax take and increased employment.
The budget surplus reached 24 billion euros, about 25.4 billion US dollars. This is the third year in a row that German government revenue has outstripped expenditure. Separately, official figures confirm the economy grew by 1.9% last year, driven mainly by consumer spending and government investment. Official data show the main factors behind improving revenues were the large increase in income tax and property tax payments. It said that a good employment situation led to a considerable growth in social contributions. State spending rose, partly by national and local governments on things such as accommodation for refugees, as well as payments to them for living expenses. Under budget law, some of Germany's surplus for the year will be set aside to continue supporting refugees. German Chancellor Angela Merkel played down the new figures. She underlined the government's intent to increase spending on defense, as well as on domestic security and social improvements. If there was one drawback to the figures, it was in trade. Germany's economic strength has traditionally come from a surplus in exports. While exports of goods and services rose by 3.3% from a year earlier, imports increased faster at 4.5%, causing a drag on GDP.
Official data show that the amount of agriculturally produced food sold overseas hit a record high in the European Union last year.
The European Commission said that the annual value of the bloc's agri-food last year stood at 130.7 billion euros, up 1.7 billion euros in 2015. The biggest increases in annual exports were to the United States and China. Meanwhile, the value of EU agri-food imports fell 1.5% to 112 billion euros, extending the EU agri-food trade surplus to nearly 19 billion euros. The Commission said the agri-food sector accounted for 7.5% of total EU exports in goods in 2016, and 6.6% of all imported goods were agri-food products.
An EU official says a deal between Greece and its international lenders may be close. The EU Commissioner for Economic and Financial Affairs, Pierre Moscovici, said an agreement on Greek bailout review could come quickly if a bit more effort was made by all sides.
Moscovici was in Greece on Wednesday. to be awarded the Grand Cross of the Order of the Phoenix for defending the unity of the EU and the Eurozone. He used a visit to also hold talks with Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras and discuss the embattled country ahead of the next Monday's Eurogroup meeting. Afterwards, he was bullish on its outcome.
I'm confident that if efforts are made by all sides, yes, we can mean very good progress and move towards that agreement.
He said he agreed with Greek Prime Minister that the message is enough with austerity in Greece.
Need to show and to tell the Greek people that there is a light at the end of the tunnel of austerity.
On his part, Moscovici praised Greece for the progress achieved in fiscal consolidation and stressed the need for more focus on reforms to make the Greek economy more competitive. The trip was personally rewarding for Moscovici. In addition to the medal, Greece's highest award bestowed to foreigners, he was also given an honorary doctorate from the University of Athens.
After 10 years of financial crisis, the Greek economy is now entering a new period of turbulence, but solutions will be found. That's the view of a Greek expert who made remarks in a recent interview with CNC. Economy Report takes a look.
Panagiotis Patrikis is a professor at the Department of Economics at the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens. He said that the 2009 Greek debt crisis wasn't just a byproduct of the global crisis, but also a domestic product. He claims that Greece entered the globalization era unprepared, with a weak production structure.
After 7 years of bailout programs, despite progress made, this shortage is still there. The restructuring of the production bases should be the focus of policymakers to find solutions quickly.
World officials and economists have searched in vain for magic formula to address the Greek crisis. As a result, Greeks face a prolonged economic depression. Fiscal numbers may be stabilizing and unemployment is being reduced, but not quickly enough.
At these rates, Greece needs a decade so that all these jobless people enter the market again and a new production structure is created.
He added that political instability in Greece did not help the crisis either. Moving forward, the professor believes Greece needs time to reform.
We need a wiser management, and our partners should understand that you cannot miraculously fix everything overnight. People and institutions do not change so easily.
Asked about the prospects of Greek economy, Patrikis stressed that the FAT and Grexit scenarios are no longer on the table, but accidents can happen. A communication problem in July when Greece needs to repay debts could lead to such an accident, but it's unlikely. Instead, Patrikis is hopeful of the immediate future.
Solutions will be found and Greece will move onwards to the next stage of growth. Despite setbacks, a growth rate of 1 to 1.5% of GDP in 2017 seems still feasible. Should everything go well, Greek citizens will start feeling the positive change in their personal finances next year.
An expert in London-based global defense consultancy says the defense spending in Gulf states will climb due to ongoing tensions in the Middle East.
The prediction came as the biggest defense fair in the Middle East region concluded on Thursday, with deals valued at $5.26 billion. Tadi Nurkin, Senior Director of Strategic Assessments at British consultancy IHS Janes, said defense spending in this region could climb back to levels last seen before the oil price plummeted in 2014. The expert said spending fell in the past 2 years due to low oil prices, but the ongoing regional tension is fueling a demand for military hardware. The ability to deploy and sustain military forces in Yemen remains a major driver for military procurement in the Gulf region. Meanwhile, markets are becoming more diverse, with Arab states increasingly shifting from U.S. and West European suppliers and begin exploring China, Russia, and Eastern Europe for defense equipment, especially small weapons. The expert said there would also be more work on self-sufficiency in the coming years.
China will further ease access restrictions on private investment encouraging participation in sectors such as medical services, elder care, education, culture, and sports.
According to a statement released after a State Council executive meeting, the country will encourage investment funds dominated by private capital in operating under market mechanisms. There will be more financing channels in the equity and bond markets and collateral financing, enabling companies to use their intellectual property rights and rights to earnings as collateral to secure financing. Favorable policies in land use and taxation for private investment will also be put in place. China will also step up fight against poverty this year, increasing investment, ensuring better use of funds, and punishing fraud and embezzlement. There will be investments in telecommunications infrastructure, lower internet fees, and faster internet. Wednesday's meeting passed a revision to China's standardization law, which will be submitted to the legislature for review. The statement said the country seeks to promote industrial restructuring and economic structure adjustment through improvement of industrial standards.
More economic news from China. A central bank economist says China's monetary policy will be prudent and neutral in 2017, which will help prevent a rapid rise in debt levels and asset bubbles.
Central bank economist Ma Jun said the policy stance will help keep economic growth at a reasonable pace and ensure inflation is at a stable level. According to the economist, China is seeking to further open up its bond market and create conditions so its bonds can join major global indices. The PBOC will also explore ways to expand trading hours at the interbank bond market and enhance international cooperation on bond market infrastructure. More than half of firms on the Chinese mainland are expected to take on staff this year. Global recruiters, MicroPage, surveyed nearly 1,000 employers and found that 55% of domestic firms are set to recruit more staff this year, compared with 41% of multinational corporations. According to the 2017 China Salary and Employment Outlook from MicroPage, 44% of local companies will be offering salary increases of 6% to 10%. In 2017, key sectors in China set to hire aggressively include renewable energy, financial technology and financial payment processing, digital media, and consumer electronics. Primary manufacturing and industrial sectors will continue to struggle as demand weakens. According to a report, China has seen a 49% increase in private equity and venture capitalist investments last year. A review released by PwC showed that Chinese private equity and venture capital reached $72.5 billion in 2016, up 49% over 2015. This is despite global fundraising falling to $336 billion in 2016, down $11 billion from 2015. The increase for China was driven by a substantial uptick in RMB fundraising, mainly by smaller firms looking for the funds to expand locally. In all, they raised about $55 billion last year, up 177%. In terms of deal volume, the high-tech industry continues to be the dominant sector for private equity fundraising 2016, followed by heavy industry, real estate, media, and entertainment. The report expects fundraising to keep growing in 2017, as well as an increase in private equity or venture capital-led merger and acquisition activities.
As more and more stores and business owners launch their online shopping platforms, the African continent has encountered a boosting of electronic commerce. E-commerce prospects in Kenya have gone a notch higher, with thousands of Kenyans thronging online shopping sites on a daily basis to buy and shop for products which many say are of good quality and affordable. And online sales in Nigeria have recorded a significant increase, with more and more people engaging in internet shopping. Ecom Report takes you to Africa to have a look.
According to International Telecommunication Union, a growing generation of young, internet-savvy individuals has embraced new online technology in Africa. Although the numbers of users are still far below the world average of around 30%, it is increasing as Africans become more familiar and proficient with online shopping.
I have shopped on Jumia and Kilimall. On Jumia, I was getting a pair of shoes. Kilimall, I got 2 sets of clothes. The main reason why I decided to shop online was for the convenience of it. When you don't have to go take a jab all the way to town, go to different places to go and look for one specific kind of item, while you can just go online, use your laptop because there's free internet and in many different places, and you can just get what you want.
I have actually bought a screen for my phone from AliExpress, and also OLX. I bought a few things like a tripod and everything. And actually, this one I bought from OLX. Yeah, it's much cheaper and more convenient compared to buying from a shop, because shops usually, in my case, shops usually have a fixed price and they increase because of taxes. But when it's online, you can get someone who owns something. He's just trying to get rid of something. For example, yeah.
I have done online shopping and I have bought a phone from Jumia. Yes. Because I was sure they're going to deliver the exact product that I requested, and they actually did. It was really convenient because I looked at the prices in the shop and then at online shopping, and I was like, it's cheaper, yeah, and not charging to deliver.
Rupu Online is one of the online shopping websites.
It's growing. I think we've seen a significant rise in it over the last 2 to 3 years. Many Kenyans are found online almost 70% of the time, and I think if you're not represented in that space, then you're missing out on a lot of consumers, you're missing out on a lot of users. So nowadays, most companies, we don't have a digital strategy, you're not in the digital space, then you're not reaching a significant number of users in this country.
E-commerce activities have also expanded in Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya, both due to the proliferation of mobile phones and availability of faster internet networks.
I've shopped online and I shop for electronics. Impacts. The convenience, like it helps, as opposed to going to the shops and buying the thing, just get it on the convenience and they deliver to your doorstep, so that's a really good thing about online shopping.
Yes, I've done online shopping on OLX Kenya. I bought a PlayStation Portable a few weeks ago, and it's been good. I've been allowed to talk to the person, communicate, know how it is exactly, test it and see how it works, which is my view, a good communication with the customer.
According to ITU figures, in South Africa, 51% of individuals with internet access shop online, while in Kenya, 18 to 24% of people make online purchases. In Nigeria, approximately 28% of the population has internet access, and the number of mobile cell phone subscriptions has topped 87 million. Online sales in Nigeria have recorded a significant increase, with more and more people engaging in internet shopping. Despite the economic recession in the West African country, online shop owners have expressed surprise that their websites has attracted about 20% increase in traffic compared with the shopping season last year. At the end of the Black Friday from November the 23rd to the 29th in Nigeria, online business platforms had made more sales than previous years, according to official records. Most of the online business owners said their records showed they began to record huge sales of various items, particularly between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. One of Nigeria's largest online retail chain, Jumia, said its website recorded a huge traffic of shoppers and made sales worth more than $1.4 million within 12 hours. They also observed that shopping online helps the customers to compare prices among the websites, and Nigerians mostly shop for convenience.
And usually in emerging markets, people shop online for price. Why? Because the online website is just a great comparator, and you can compare the prices, and actually they're reliable. I think that Nigeria may be one of the only countries in the world, emerging markets, where people shop online for convenience, and they're ready to pay the price.
Local experts said with this development, Nigeria's e-commerce industry has proved to be on rapid growth in an area that needs more foreign and local investors.
As e-commerce progressively takes root in Kenya, several companies are in competition to make gains on the now tech-savvy Kenyans. According to statistics, Kenya is leading in East Africa in terms of e-commerce and online shopping. Kilimall International Limited, an online company, is easing shopping experience for local consumers. Kilimall marketing manager Wycliffe Sandis said they borrowed this idea from other countries abroad where e-commerce is very popular, like China.
Well, the foundation base of Kilimall is actually Chinese, and I believe that the Chinese have really influenced what we do here at Kilimall, simply because they have the biggest industry in e-commerce in the world, which is Alibaba.
Launched in 2014, Kilimall sells about 20,000 types of products, including household items, kitchenware, clothes, shoes, toys, and many more.
The Chinese products on our site are moving quite well because they're affordable, they're quality products, and most of them come with warranty. So most customers have confidence in them, and they're eager to buy them.
Averaging hundreds of users and customers daily, the company has proved popular with Kenya customers, especially women who love shopping.
Between above the ages of 20, they're really taking it up quite quickly, because these are women that are very, how can I put it, they're very enlightened when it comes to the internet, when it comes to e-commerce.
Presently, for Nairobi, one can order online and get the goods delivered within a maximum period of 48 hours. According to the Communication Authority of Kenya, there are over 70 million internet subscriptions in the East African nation, with the number rising by about 5% every quarter.
云天无际，承载梦想。中国南方航空是中国运输飞机最多、航线网络最发达、年客运量最大的航空公司。亚洲第一，全球第三，是南航缔造的业界奇迹。蓝天壮志情，云海谱华章。
欢迎光临芝加哥华府广场清香苑饺子馆，包罗万馅，多姿多味。
我是一只爱了千年的狐，千年爱恋，千年孤独。长夜里你可知我的红妆为谁补？红尘中你可知我的秀发为谁梳？我是一只守候千年的狐，千年守候，千年无助。情到深处，看我用美丽为你起舞；爱到痛时，听我用歌声为你倾诉。爱 寒窗苦读，你我还是山盟铭心刻骨。金榜画柱，却是天涯漫漫陌路。殊途，能不能让我为爱哭一哭？我还是千百年前爱你的白狐，多少春去春来，朝朝暮暮，生生世世都是你的湖。能不能让我为爱哭一哭？我还是千百年来不变的白狐，多少春去春来，朝朝暮暮，来生来世还做你的湖。我是一只守候千年的狐，千年守候，千年无助。情到深处，看我用美丽为你起舞；爱到痛时，听我用歌声为你倾诉。寒窗苦读，你我还是山盟铭心刻骨。金榜画柱，却是天涯漫漫陌路殊途。能不能让我为爱哭一哭？我还是千百年前爱你的白狐，多少春去春来，朝朝暮暮，生生世世都是你的湖。能不能让我为爱哭一哭？我还是千百年来不变的白狐，多少春去春来，朝朝暮暮，来生来世还做你的湖。多少春去春来，朝朝暮暮，来生来世还做你